The film starts with the introduction of Engin, a polyamorous businessman. In the following scene, we meet Belen, a beautiful girl who works with her friend Marvi in a wedding planning business. Marvi is eager to get married, but Belen isn't interested in love or marriage. She believes that she and Marvi are too focused on work and don't have time for their personal lives. We return to Engin, who is traveling with his friend Xian. Xian asks Engin about a misunderstanding between him and his lover, Ada. Ada has been calling Engin frequently, but he hasn't been answering her calls. Engin reveals that he wants to remain single and doesn't like discussing the fate of his relationship with Ada. Belen and Marvi arrive late to work, and the manager scolds Belen for interfering in a client's wedding plans. The manager threatens to fire Belen if she doesn't comply with the client's demands. Marvi suggests they go out after work to meet men who might be a good match for them. That night, Belen and Marvi accidentally end up at the same restaurant where Engin is cooking with Xian. Through his cooking skills, we learn that Engin dreams of owning a restaurant where he can prepare delicious recipes for his customers. Marvi is obsessed with finding a life partner and believes that she and Belen will meet someone in 2 minutes. However, they are disappointed when the 2 men they approach turn out to be elderly. Belen insults the men, but they can't shake them off and end up in the kitchen, where they run into Engin and Xian. The 4 of them are drawn to each other. The next morning, Belen and Engin wake up in the same room and discover that they are wearing wedding rings. They don't remember how they got there or who the house belongs to. When they hear the doorbell, Engin opens the door and finds the caretaker. He asks about their identity and the owner of the house, but the caretaker is surprised by his questions. Belen screams when she finds a photo of her and Engin at their wedding. They also find photos on their phone that show they were lovers 2 years ago. Belen calls her mother and learns that she has been married to Engin for 2 years. Belen and Engin are confused and don't remember anything about their marriage. Engin and Belen try to remember how they met and why they got married. Belen warns Engin not to get too close to her and to forget about their marriage. Belen and Engin argue, with each of them mocking the other. Engin tells Belen not to dream of marrying someone like him, while Belen claims that she is different from the other girls he knows and that she is a dream come true for any young man. Belen gets a call from her friend Marvi and asks for help in apologizing to the manager for being late. On her way to work, Belen meets the doorman who tells her that he has washed her car. Engin also talks to the doorman about his car, but the doorman says that he only uses a bicycle. At work, Belen is surprised when the manager treats her nicely and finds out that Marvi is now the manager of the business. Marvi reveals that Engin bought the business as a gift for Belen. Engin goes to work and realizes that he no longer owns the business. His assistant tells him that he sold it to Xian, which makes Engin angry. He accuses Xian of stealing the business, but Xian explains that he bought it on his own free will. Engin sees Ada with Xian and realizes that she has become his wife. Xian tells Engin that he gave up his plan to demolish houses and move their inhabitants because he found true love with Belen. Engin goes to the restaurant Xian mentioned and meets the chef, Imra. Imra is surprised by Engin's condition and warns him about the consequences of his mental illness. Engin calls Belen and asks to meet her. He tells her that he needs to go back to his old life and wants to wake up from this nightmare. They visit a relationship counselor and explain their situation. The counselor suggests getting to know each other better and asking loved ones about memories of their meeting. Belen decides to read her personal diary to find clues about their past. Engin is skeptical of the counselor's advice and wants to find a more concrete solution. Afterward, Engin and Belen attempt to read through the diary and piece together the events written within. According to the notebook, their first romantic encounter occurred at the cinema, but they have no memory of it. Their second encounter was at the beach, where they danced together in an effort to remember, with no success. Belen becomes discouraged and feels like a failure, believing their efforts are a waste of time, while Engin remains confident in his memory of their special moments. They discover that the first time they got close was when Engin used to take Belen to her neighborhood, which they decide to visit. However, Belen is saddened to find that the neighborhood has changed completely, with modern housing replacing the small, old houses she remembers from her childhood. She sees this as destruction rather than development, as memories and dreams have been demolished. Engin admits that some of the new buildings belong to his company and that he was responsible for them. Angry and hurt, Belen demands a divorce, but Engin convinces her to return home with him. To her surprise, their friends and family are waiting there to celebrate their wedding anniversary, which Engin had planned a week earlier. They spend the night attempting to remember their past by listening to the dialogue among their loved ones, but with no success. A new guest arrives, who turns out to be Engin's father. Through their conversation, Engin realizes that their relationship has returned to normal, and he feels happy to have his father back in his life. At the end of the party, Engin's father advises him to keep Belen, as she had helped him change for the better and saved his life after a difficult incident. Engin lies to his father about forgetting things lately and asks how Belen saved his life. His father reveals that he had an accident and fell into a coma for several weeks, during which Belen stayed by his side hoping for his recovery. Engin's father advises him to check with a doctor, as it is difficult to forget moments with Belen. In the kitchen, Engin thanks Belen for her help and tells her everything that has happened, including his estrangement from his father due to his mother's illness and subsequent death. Belen is surprised when her stepfather presents her with Engin's mother's necklace as a wedding gift, thanking her for making Engin a caring and responsible person. That night, Belen reluctantly sleeps next to Engin as his father will be staying with them, but warns him not to approach her. The next morning, they both discover that Belen is pregnant, despite only one day having passed since their attempts to conceive. They realize that time flies, and 2 years later, the pregnancy ends. The couple tries to check their photos and are surprised to be happy about the pregnancy, but Belen accuses Engin of being the reason for her unexpected pregnancy. They visit a relationship counselor who advises them that their fears will end once they eliminate fear from their relationship and experience a strong event, such as the birth of their child. While discussing the timing of the birth with their family members, Belen goes into labor. After the birth, they find themselves living the same life as before, and they quickly realize that time is passing by quickly. They run to their daughter's room and discover that she has grown up, and her name is Xena, which makes them both happy. Xena asks for a bunny doll, and Engin fulfills her request. Engin decides to enjoy his time with Belen and their daughter, and they start a real family. They continue to live each day with new events and experiences until they grow old together and remain happy. After returning home, Engin and Belen happily accept their marriage and cherish their time with their daughter. Engin confesses to Belen that he no longer wants to know if everything was just a dream because he is happy with her. Belen also feels grateful for the best days of her life and their mutual curiosity about the future. However, the next morning, Engin is surprised to find Belen missing from his side. Similarly, Belen wakes up at home with Marvi and realizes that everything was just a dream. She tells Marvi about how she fell in love with a young man in her dream and narrates all the events that occurred. Engin and Belen search for each other online, but Belen struggles to believe that it was all just a dream. Marvi encourages Belen to speak to the person she saw in her dream, but Belen hesitates because she fears that Engin will think she is only after his money. However, Marvi convinces her to talk to him as fate may have intervened in their story. Engin revisits places he went to with Belen in the dream and sells his business to start living the life he dreamed of. He also reconciles with his father and receives his mother's necklace as a gift to present to Belen. Eventually, Engin and Belen visit the house they lived in together in the dream and confirm its existence. Engin starts changing his life by selling his car and using a bike instead. Ada reminds Engin about their appointment with a relationship counselor. Engin shocked Ada by telling her that he wanted to break up and loves another girl that he saw in his dream. He urged Ada to find happiness elsewhere, as he only felt happy with the girl from his dream. Ada was heartbroken by this news and couldn't believe that Engin would end their relationship over a dream. Meanwhile, Belen visited a relationship counselor and was surprised to see Engin trying to apologize to Ada. Belen assumed that Engin and Ada were in a romantic relationship and felt sad, realizing that what she experienced with Engin in her own dream was now over. As Engin crossed the road to speak with Belen, he was hit by a car. Belen rushed to his side and promised not to give up on him, even as he was taken away in an ambulance. Engin trusted Belen and offered her his mother's necklace, insisting that he didn't want the events of his dream to change. Belen realized that she had the same dream and promised to make everything that happened in the dream come true. Months later, we see Engin and Belen's wedding, and it becomes clear that Belen saved Engin's life and stayed by his side during his illness. They remained happy together, and after several years, the dream finally came true when Belen gave birth to the same child she saw in the dream. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. I always love hearing from my viewers, so feel free to leave a comment below with your thoughts on the video or any suggestions for future content. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video.